Welcome back, everyone, to Pod of Thrones. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jennifer.
It's been such a long time. Guess who we got, babe?
I know who we got.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Damn it.
We got Kevin.
Lore Master Kevin's back. Hey, Lore
How's
Master
it going,
Kevin.
Guys?
Good.
We're doing well. How are you, sir?
I can tell you, I was looking at this, and last time I talked to you guys was over a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah, what was the last thing we talked about since you looked it up?
Oh, man.
It must have been Witcher.
Never
was.
mind. It could have been Witcher.
It was. I don't know. Did you guys take forever to watch The Witcher?
Yes.
Yes. Well, yes.
We watched it late.
We watched
It
it
could have
Oh,
been
twice.
no, we
Witcher.
didn't watch it late.
No. It might have been Westworld as well.
That's been gone for a long time. We haven't had a Westworld during COVID, I don't think. But they are filming right now. So more Westworld coming, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's happy news.
Well, we're happy to hear you again a year later.
Thanks.
Yes,
We
welcome
got through
back.
this year. We're all still alive.
It's
Yeah.
been more than a year.
Yeah, I know. It was August of last year.
We're at a full year and a half and then some.
No.
Well, wait, March. Yeah,
April.
we're over
3
a year and
months.
a half.
March. Well, it was
No,
really.
I talked to you guys in
December.
August.
Oh, I thought she was just talking about COVID. But
Oh, COVID. Oh,
COVID
yeah.
in general.
Yeah, COVID's
Like,
an
things
hour.
have been
Yeah.
fucked up for a long
No,
time.
I was talking, just both, actually.
Oh.
Anyway, we're happy
Okay.
to have you back.
Welcome back, Kevin.
Okay. Hey.
So we're going to talk about the Wheel of Time today. But of course, before we do that, we always have our traditional things to go through. Mostly, we'll start off with Game of Thrones headlines.
Sure.
And I think Jennifer has something.
I do have something.
She's looking at her phone. She's going to kick us off.
It's going to be really weird, but
All right.
Maisie Williams is going to voiceover for a character in a Warner Brothers game.
And what is that character?
Arya Stark.
That's right. We did have the same headline. Okay,
We did,
you and I
yeah.
have the same headline.
So it's going to be this weird, it's called MultiVersus.
MultiVersus.
It says you can play on teams with other people and that they can be characters like Bugs Bunny and Shaggy and I don't know who else they said, but I don't know. It says anything goes pretty much.
Well,
I don't know if you can choose from a whole bunch of other characters, but Arya is one of them, which you wouldn't really put aside or beside Bugs Bunny or Elmer Fudd.
Well, what it appears to be is a super. So if any of you have a video game past or young kids now and any Nintendo stuff, you might be familiar with Smash Brothers or Super Smash Brothers. So that line of games where it's this two-dimensional, sort of a side-scrolling battle arena with could be 1 versus 1 or could be 2 versus 2 or a free-for-all of 4 characters all versus each other. But it's going to be that.
I was thinking of it more like the fight games. What are they
Like
called?
Street Fighter and stuff?
Yes.
Well, I think the biggest difference is that the Smash Brothers style has much less complicated moves. Like in Street Fighter, you had to, or Mortal Kombat, God knows, you had to memorize, you have to twist your joystick in this direction, then forward down, and then whip it around 360, and then push a button or 2 buttons or whatever to make a special move happen. But this is it's more kid friendly. It's much more streamlined.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I guess it won't be too bad.
It sounded more like Super Smash Brothers when you were discussing it.
Well,
I'm watching the video. Did you watch the video for it?
I think I did.
Yeah. It looks like Ultimate Fighting for me, just for kids. That's what it looks like
Ultimate
to
Fighting
me.
for Kids. That sounds good. We should market that. But because Warner Brothers owns things like HBO and the DC Comics, they have a huge library to go from. So yeah, like you were saying, Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, but then also Superman and Batman have already been confirmed to be in the game.
The Lasso of Truth.
Wonder Woman.
Yes.
There you go. And then Arya Stark is the first Game of Thrones character announced. Who knows? There could be more. But, I love me some Arya. So.
I know.
I consider this
It's weird.
very good. What?
She's a little girl.
I don't love her that way.
Okay,
She's
good.
just my favorite,
Character.
Westerosian human.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah, you're not a weirdo anymore.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm glad that we clarified that.
Yeah, so there you go. Now I think it's going to be on lots of different platforms. I saw one of the bullet points was crossplay, which implies it should be available at least on like Xbox, PlayStation, Windows, I'm guessing. I don't know about Switch, hopefully.
It'd be good on the Switch.
But it's pretty exciting. I got to try it, right? And I think they also said free to play. So that does mean microtransactions. Not a fan, but we'll see. I at least have to try it.
Mm.
We'll try it.
Sure.
We'll try doing some Arya versus Bugs Bunny battles and see who wins. Maybe
Okay.
Kevin, what game systems do you own?
I
Just
have a
PC.
computer and I have a PS4.
PS4.
Oh, I think I have a Switch. My kids have a Switch.
Okay. Well, then I think that provides us enough openings. We could get something going and have a match or two.
Fun. Let's do it.
I think we're still a ways away from it actually coming out, but
Cool.
we'll get
see
there.
if it says.
Okay.
Let's move along and I'll tell you if it does.
Okay. I do have I have a special shout out to give, a little publicity, for someone that did something really cool. So if you've been following our enterprises for a long time, you're probably familiar with the Kid Free Weekend podcast. I'm sure you are, right, Kevin?
Yes.
Yes, of course. And that one has kind of petered out, not because we wanted to so much as, we barely have time to do one podcast, much less two. Right, babe? What was that? Right. So it went by the wayside. But the best thing, I think, about that show was how we got to interview some people from the amazing 80s action movie classic, No Retreat, No Surrender.
Mm-hmm.
I love that movie.
It's such a great freaking movie. And if you're new
Has
to
that
this whole
song in
conversation,
there.
Yeah.
if you're not familiar with the fact that we did that, well, but you know that movie, you got to look up the Kid Free Weekend podcast. It's still out there, even though we haven't been updating it. But we have interviews with the two stars of the movie, Kurt McKinney, who played Jason, and then his best friend RJ, who was played by Jonathan Neverfails. So we've interviewed those two guys and tried to find a couple others, tried to get Jean-Claude Van Damme. That didn't work out. But anyway, this guy reached out to me. His name is Carl Kinsman. I believe he is an Irish lad. And he is really into that movie. And he also is like a video and audio guy. Like
Nice.
That's what he does. And he and I were talking a bit, trying to figure out, because there was a European cut of the movie and there was a US cut of the movie, and the European cut had more content. It was a longer movie, but the US cut had much better music and overall sound quality. It was kind of weird how that turned out. So I helped him find a US cut of the movie, and he got that and the other cut, and he started mashing them together, and he just posted it to YouTube. So I'm going to put a link in the show notes, and you guys should check it out. No one's really protecting the intellectual property for this movie. No one gives a shit. There's many copies of it on YouTube. So he just uploaded his version of it. It's not monetized in any way. But it's just a labor of love. He souped up the audio, got it with the better video, cleaned it all up, made it look
He should
sparkly,
send
shiny,
it to the
awesome.
actors.
Well, I'm going to try to get in touch with them again and let them know.
Yeah.
I don't think they're getting any residuals for anything, at this point in their lives. So they probably don't have a horse in the game in terms of like,
Do you think they would get upset?
Well, I don't think so because it's already out there. And it's almost impossible to find the movie. I just don't think there could be residuals on DVDs or definitely not on streaming at this point in history, because that was never in the original contracts,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited. And I just wanted to spread the word on that.
Oh, I can't wait to watch it.
We got to
yeah.
watch it again, right? I mean, you'll finally hear the good music.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So that all said, does anyone have anything else to talk about before we get into the Wheel of Time? Did you find a date on MultiVersus?
2022.
2022.
Did I follow up with who Matt Smith is playing? I said Daemon Targaryen, right?
Oh, yeah. You were going to look up Daemon Targaryen and
Yes.
see if he was a good dude or not.
Oh, I didn't do that.
All right. Well, we do have Lore Master Kevin here. Lore Master Kevin, have you been studying
can tell us.
the upcoming Targaryens?
No, not really.
All right, fine.
Well, you know what? I actually did look it up, but it was so long ago that now I have to read the page.
Okay. That it's only been 2 weeks. We have been
I can
good.
tell you that
been
he
good.
is
Well, what is your question?
the uncle of somebody, and he wanted to marry, I think,
Yes.
Ned Stark's wife, Catherine.
Well,
think.
that can't be
No.
because it's 200
No.
years earlier.
He wanted to marry somebody that he wasn't supposed to marry. That's all I remember from
All
it.
right. Well,
I will get it.
You're
I'll
talking,
get it together. I just have to read it again.
you're talking about Prince Daemon
Yes.
Targaryen?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
so former Doctor Who Matt Smith is
I'm
playing
probably
him,
all wrong.
but he's
Okay.
got the
All right.
Targaryen white hair and the.
All right.
Big forehead.
She loves to talk about Matt Smith's forehead. He's gonna be mad at us if we ever meet him.
No, he knows.
He's listening.
He knows.
Well.
He'll laugh about it.
God, I hope so. Okay, well, since Lore Master Kevin doesn't know a whole lot either, we don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy, but we'll continue to track that story, right, babe?
Yeah, I'll keep tracking that.
All right, fuck it. Let's talk about the Wheel of Time. That's what we hire Lore Master Kevin for. We're paying him the big bucks. He just reread all 14 of the Wheel of Time novels.
No, I didn't.
He's read. Shut up.
Didn't.
He's ready. He's ready to jump in. Okay, so we have heard already through the internets, because this is I think it came out like Thursday night or Friday morning, depending on like where you lived. So people have been consuming this, of course, rabidly excited for this great series of books to come to the screen. And of course, there's been a lot of complaints already. So knowing that, but not having read the books ourselves, we're going to go through this first episode, which I thought was totally fine.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
And we watched it with our friends Kim and Eric,
Who have read the books.
Who have read the books.
Mm-hmm.
Kim hasn't read them all, but she's read at least the first 4 or 5, I think. But Eric's read them all.
We should have had her on.
I thought about trying to break out the recorder, but they had to go. They had to go. They had to be parents. It happens. But anyway, they were not angry, is my point. Like
right,
they noticed
were okay with
that
it.
there were some differences, but I saw a lot of anger online, and I didn't see much in the way of detail. Just, I can't believe what they did with the Wheel of Time. The first episode's garbage. And then I also saw a number of people say, I watched episode 2 and it was better.
Yeah. Well, what did you think, Kevin?
I really liked it, actually.
Mm-hmm. No
I
problems.
mean, there is a lot of differences, starting with the first one with the characters, but most of them come from the fact that they aged them up, which happens a lot in the thing.
Yeah.
So like in the show, I mean, in the book, they're all, like 17 years old. And they aged them up 3 years. So, with 3 years comes a lot of different things that don't happen when you're younger in that time period.
Okay.
Well, Game of Thrones did a lot of that too. I mean, I think,
they were young when they started.
With Arya and Sansa, they were probably accurately young or close to it. But with the boys, the Stark boys, I think they were all quite a bit older in the show than they were supposed to be.
They should have. I think they tried to
like
learn
16.
from Game of Thrones, because Bran started off this little teeny tiny boy, and it seemed like it wasn't that long, and he was already looking like he was 25 years old by the end of it.
Yeah, and as you say that, the whole Game of Thrones epic probably took maybe a couple years.
Yeah,
like in terms of story time. Although the way traveling worked in that show, who knows?
Sure.
Yeah,
that is a fair point. So yeah, all of these 4 special kids, they are 20 or 21, right? Is that what they were supposed to be?
21, I think.
They were 20. It was very specific. They were 20.
Yeah.
And in the books, they're 17. So one of the things that ends up happening is, one of the main characters in the book is Perrin, who you saw. Ooh. He's the one who had a wife.
Yeah.
The wife didn't exist in the books because he wasn't married, because he was only 17.
All right.
I could tell you why. I mean, I guess we talk about why they probably went ahead and did that to him, because in the book he has a lot of inner dialogue with himself, and he ends up fretting over someone, and something happens. I'm not going to give away because it may still happen in a different way, and so he ends up questioning his ability to, he questions whether he wants to fight or just become a blacksmith. So they call it his fight between the hammer and the axe throughout the book series, in his mind. So instead of them having the inner monologue that you can hear and read and you understand what's going through, they sped it up basically a lot.
Okay.
Because you saw what happened we can talk about it, but we'll get into it. You see what ends up happening in the first episode, and that speeds up what literally takes books to happen to him.
Interesting. And
So
sorry to you or the audience for booing Perrin right out of the gate, but I've got some strong feelings about these characters already. I feel like TV is really missing, or at least the stuff we watch is really missing. Like, let's make at least one character truly likable. I feel like that's just a thing of the past. Like, we don't get
Plenty
those
of characters are likable in
in
this.
Wheel of Time. All right,
Yes.
well, let's talk as we go. We'll talk about who's likable and who's not. How about that?
yeah. So also we can talk about the other three that end up leaving real fast, because those really there's the three characters that people are having issues with in the books. One was Perrin, because they gave him a wife, and then what happens? We'll talk about that.
Yep.
Matt, because of his parents. I mean, in the books, his parents really are not the way they are in the show.
Huh.
But again, he's one of the people that goes out, and you see a lot of his inner monologue throughout the whole entire thing. And I'm not going to bring a lot of his, because when something happened to him already in the series that is going to was supposed to happen, and it's going to shape the way he is the rest of the series. But his parents were actually, not like that. So like they're like, oh, you took a guy and made him a lecherous, and he wasn't like that in the book. He was, actually went and looking for his son after his son left. So it's things like that. His mother definitely wasn't a drunk. She was raising. It's funny because in the first book it says 5 kids, and he only mentions like the sisters, and later on, even in the like the glossary, it says he has 3 sisters instead of 4 sisters. But so anyways, so
Right.
Matt's family is totally changed. Again, he's older, and then Egwene and Rand end up together doing stuff that they don't
That's
normally that they don't do
spoilers.
in the books.
Wait. Oh, what do you mean together? Oh, that they were just paired up kind of along the way for.
Well, I mean, like it was hinted that they wanted to be, but they never actually did anything. Again,
Oh.
when you're younger,
Oh.
that doesn't happen. I mean, at 17 they probably should have, but
Well,
it
yeah,
was never
17's
mentioned.
not that young, and it's fucking
Right.
like medieval times. It's not like now.
But
Like
that's
people
what I'm
were
saying.
getting
It always
married.
felt weird to me that, but the area they live in, the two Edmonds Field is the name of theirs, the Two Rivers area. It really was like an innocent area. Like they didn't explore. They didn't have worldly people visiting, as you could tell when Moraine shows up. What ends up happening when they all shut up and talk? That just doesn't happen.
Right.
So they maybe not have had it when they were 17, but it really, by the time they're 20, they had to have been doing something. I'm sorry, it just had to have happened.
I was fine with it, not counting
Right.
other character flaws, but
That's the issue, is they aged them up, and so they had to give them adult issues.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let me just add then also, if you're listening to this and you're a fan of the book, we would like to know your thoughts on these controversial topics. If there is a reason why it's not okay. To me, I'm just listening to this. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So they aged him up. They made him fuck. It's fine.
Right.
But
really, Matt's parents, even though they have their own little storyline, like, Matt's dad goes and looks for him, and, his mom, I really don't, she shows up again later on too. They're not major characters. Like, they're minor side characters. I think Matt's dad's only like maybe mentioned, or maybe he's mentioned multiple times, but you only like get his, in the story, like maybe in 3 separate books, and it's 14-book series, and the books are huge. So come on, he's a side character at best. So changing him a little bit, just to help Matt, who is a main character, who is a point of view character,
right.
Doesn't really hurt his backstory, and
Well, I'm going to say for storytelling purposes, and I'm sure there's nothing wrong with the way that the story was told in the first place, but when you start working with TV writers and people who are used to having, like, you need certain types of beats, and they're trying to dig into these characters, what do we know about the typical epic heroes? One of the biggest features is they tend to come from some kind of broken family in some way. At least they mixed it up. Not everybody's an orphan, but like Rand's mom is dead, and Matt's parents are fucked up, and we don't know anything about Perrin except, well, he had sort of a family life, and that went south. So we have these traits of, like, sort of those things that kind of would generally kind of fuck up your psyche, but for some reason they're these typical qualities of an epic hero. So maybe the writers are just trying to work something like that in for Matt. If he came from kind of an okay home and he doesn't have any problems, then he's not as dramatic of a character.
Yeah, he has his problems throughout the series or throughout the book series, but they don't they don't manifest till stuff happens to him along the way.
Okay.
Uh,
All right. Well, let's get into the episode and keep filling our heads with more and more knowledge. So
I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the Wheel of Time and its place among epic story, high fantasy.
You mean
so
you don't mean the Wheel of Time as in the thing that they talk about. You mean the Wheel of Time as in the series of books.
The book series.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. What do you want to say?
We can talk about the Wheel of Time itself, and because they talk about that some in the first episode. But by the way, shout out to Roose Bolton out there.
What? Is he in the show? Is he the dad?
He's the dad.
Holy shit! That's Roose Bolton with a fucking beard and shit. Tam is his name.
Yeah.
Fucking A. Did you didn't notice that, babe, or else you would have said something.
Yeah.
All right.
So
wow. Okay. Well, perfect.
He
now it really ties
speech,
in.
So that's what I was thinking about. He did the whole Wheel of Time speech. So
right. Okay. Well.
All right. So if you think of, let's just say there's three. Just let's go with three books, 3-book series. Number 1 would be Lord of the Rings. Number 2, Game of Thrones, and then the third one would be the Wheel of Time. Lord of the Rings is the the fantasy archetypes, and here's how they here's how they act. So it gives a lot of those archetypes throughout. You take a lot of books take from those archetypes. All right. Mm-hmm. Now, Game of Thrones is on the complete opposite spectrum. A Song of Ice and Fire is on the complete opposite spectrum when it comes to those books, because on the opposite spectrum is whatever those archetypes are in Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones or the Song of Ice and Fire took them and inverted them. You had Jaime after he did what he had to do, and you got to see what he was after he killed the king. And you would have saw Jaime and Lord of the Rings, you would have saw him going through. We talked about this once before about how Jaime was a hero a lot, throughout before he became this Kingslayer. So you took the Song of Ice and Fire, took it and inverted all those archetypes. Now the Wheel of Time falls right in the middle of both of those. It has some of the Lord of the Rings stuff, and then the Song of Ice and Fire would never came if it wasn't Wheel of Time, because George R. R. Martin said he took a lot from what he saw in the Wheel of Time, and so it's right in the middle of both those types. So you got your archetypes, but you also have some inversion of some of those archetypes, which is great, because it's the perfect. It's the first fantasy series I ever read was the Wheel of Time.
Oh, really? Wow. Mine was the Belgariad, which no one's ever talking about making movies about, and that makes me sad.
So yeah. So that's where I think it stands in the, the triad of fantasy sources. And those are the 3 you want. You want Lord of the Rings, you want Wheel of Time, and you want A Song of Ice and Fire. There's and Brandon Sanderson, who finished up Wheel of Time for Robert Jordan after Robert Jordan passed away. His series that he is working on is going to be one of those too, and we can talk about that some other time. But he's running a book series that I absolutely love, and we can talk about it at a different time. But
probably for the best, and they'll probably make a TV show or movie out of it sooner or later.
If they do, they need to. It's written to be a TV series.
Well, I'll look forward to it. I will say, by the time we get through these first 3 episodes, I have some notes that do in fact mention quite a bit of Tolkien, so we'll get there. For better or worse. All right. Wheel of Time, Season 1, Episode 1, Leavetaking. Not my favorite title ever, but it'll work. Leavetaking. All right, here we go. Babe, you ready?
Yep. You
looking something up?
I'm just looking at Wheel of Time stuff.
Oh, all right. Well, if you find any tidbits, do chime in.
I'll let you know.
I'm happy to say this episode was pretty straightforward. I didn't feel the need to chop anything up into different pieces and reorder things like I do in episode 3. All right, so first things up, we're going to meet 2 of our main characters, Moraine and Lan. Now, she's going on some little speech in her inner monologue. Basically, men did a bunch of bad shit and broke the world, and the women became Aes Sedai, and they're the only ones with the power to like make things better. But there was this one dude, the dragon. He was involved in the breaking of the world, which to me sounds like a bad thing, but he's been reborn, and I guess they feel like if they can find the dragon and harness his power for good, he can heal the world instead of fucking things up worse. And they're trying to beat
And
the
see,
darkness.
I think here is the beginning of why the people on the book series or who
Already?
read the book is kind of
Oh no.
yeah, because the prologue to the Eye of the World, which is the first book, um, the prologue you actually see like your whole entire point of view is during the breaking of the world. Like you're seeing what's taking place, so you have a different feeling, by the way. And
Okay.
Leavetaking actually is titled in some of the chapters, and there's actually 4 chapters named Leavetaking inside the series.
Okay.
So it's not too far out there. So when you get to the point where the the sister you found of the Aes Sedai, she's capturing him. You kind of understand why.
Okay. All right.
Um,
But
So I wanted to, since we're here now, and you're talking about the girl who was on, her name, I don't know if they tipped it the same for this series. So I want to make sure. I looked up earlier. Yeah, Leandrin. I wanted to make sure that they didn't change her name.
oh,
Leandrin.
okay.
She was the one riding the. She was the one riding the horse, and you saw that she was wearing all red,
Yes.
right? All right, and she had a red ring.
Now they
All
never
right,
said her name in the series. Maybe they did at the very end of
they
episode
did at
3.
the third chapter.
But
Yeah, the third
thankfully,
one.
and this is, I mean, kudos to Amazon Prime. Anytime you pause the show, you can see through their little X-ray feature who's in the scene, both actor and character names. So I was able to get that note of Leandrin right
Yeah.
away. So that was good
All
news.
right, so she's wearing red, and then we'll talk about Moraine later, and she's wearing blue.
She is indeed.
The right, and she has a blue ring as well. So the Aes Sedai is actually broken up into 7 Ajahs, what they call them, Ajah. Um, so the red one is the biggest one, and their only purpose in the entire world. I'm not going to go through what each of the purposes are because we'll probably figure it out as what a series. But their only purpose in the entire world is to go out and find dark fiends and find people who are using the one power wrong. So that can include um, other women who use the power but don't come to the Aes Sedai. They also have another thing. They're the largest. They're the largest job, by the way.
I know you're
They
saying
actually,
AJAH odd job, but it just sounds like you're saying odd job, which
yeah,
kind of works anyway.
job, job. um, where was I? Okay, so you saw Moraine. She had a man with her the whole time, and he's her
Right.
warder. We can
That's
talk about that
Lan.
later.
Lan. Lan.
Lane, yeah. The red don't take warders.
Mm, okay.
So all the other ones do. The red do not. Um, Matter of fact, there was a person who like was wondering why, and were like saying, "I wish we could," basically, and she got punished for doing that. So they just don't.
Well, when we saw
Um,
Leandrin, she had 3 or 4 more red-clad women with her, so maybe they
they're the
don't need.
biggest. The red one is the biggest one,
Right.
and it makes about I think a fifth of them. So like there's like 200 of them. Um, so they make up the largest one, and like they go out and they hunt these people. They hunt the men who are using the power, and what they do is they cut them off from the power, which calls gentling them.
Okay.
So that's their only job is to cut them off from the power. Because there's 2 separate sides of the one power. It's the male side and the female side, and the breaking the world. Only the men showed up.
That makes
um,
sense. That
so
that
that
feels real world to me, but yeah, go
So
on.
the men, well, the men showed up, and so while they were taking down who they were taking down, I'm not going to mention it because they'll probably talk about it. He lashed out and tried to stop them. So while he did that, he tainted the men power. I'll tell you the names of the different powers of different ones. I want to not say that because you'll probably hear it later on.
Yeah.
Anyway. So the man side of the power, he tainted it. So whenever a man later on tried using the power, he got sick.
He would become
So
insane, right?
Yeah. Well, not. I mean, the more they use it, the more insane they went. Um, and also, women who use it can get sick too if they don't get trained, which is why the Aes Sedai goes out. Growing up when I read it, I called Aes Sedai. I don't remember. I don't remember how you pronounce it in my head, but now I got to change it.
I think they said
Here
Aes
it is.
Sedai in the show.
Yeah, Aes Sedai is how they say it. Um, anyway, so the different powers, the different sides of the power, the men power and the women power. Um, the men's power is now tainted. So whenever they try to use it, they get sick. And so you can track them down. So that's what she's doing.
Okay.
The
Well, yeah,
blue,
because they didn't
which,
really explain much of anything there except he touched the source is kind of what
yeah.
you piece together from that conversation. So Leandrin's chasing down these two dudes, except it's not really two dudes, it's one dude and he's crazy. But she
Mhm.
tells him the power's only meant for women and that when he touches it, he makes it dirty or gross or something icky.
Yeah.
So I guess he died. Did she kill him or did she just?
She gentled him. I'm guessing she gentled him.
It looked painful.
Well, they're cutting him off from the power.
Well, all right, yeah, but they didn't actually show much except he
it's
started
it's
screaming.
fairly dramatic. I mean, it happens. If it happens to men, it's fairly dramatic. It happens to women too. Some women get cut off if they're gentled as well, and it's like the Aes Sedai. They have like, and this is one of the other things that people are really having trouble with. They're supposed to be ageless. The women are supposed to be ageless, and I'm supposed to look at them and tell how old they are. They could be 17 or they could be 90s. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but these women look like they have a little age on them, so they're a little trouble with that. Like, no, they're supposed to be ageless.
We gotta cut them some slack. It's the real world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then Moraine, she is in the blue.
Right.
And so they go out and they what they say and they focus on causes of righteousness and justice. Basically, anything that's going to hurt the world, they try to stop it from hurting the world, and they usually at odds with the red. By the
Oh,
way,
okay.
Hmm.
So they're not
so
all friends.
well, actually, the blue have actually left numerous times of the White Tower numerous times because of they're at odds with them. So
Wow.
yes,
Okay.
there's been chisms and a bunch of different things throughout their history.
I think I'm
Okay.
getting spoilers from what I'm reading. I better stop.
Yeah,
Yeah, you could join the
I'm trying
podcast
to talk
instead,
about
lady.
it without.
Well,
I'm trying to
I'm
talk
listening
about
to
it
what
without
you guys
spoiling.
are saying and I'm reading about it at the same time.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but I'm finding out more than what you're saying and I don't know if I should say.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, so that happens, and that's very dramatic, and that scene is actually not in the books at all. So
Oh, just her sort of that gentling or whatever that guy.
yeah, well, that guy, I don't even know who that was in the book. I mean,
I think
like
he was
later
just a
on,
random dude.
yeah, later on you see him with what she calls him Logain, and he's a fairly big character, but they're not the same characters at the beginning. It's a different character altogether.
Okay. So that was happening, but it appeared that from like far away and on top of a cliff, Moraine and Lan were watching this happen,
Hmm.
and
They're
they
looking for the one. Or
right,
no,
and
they're looking for the Dragonborn.
they're looking for the dragon, and not Dragonborn. That's Skyrim.
It's okay. I can say it.
uh, they're looking for that guy, but then they commented that the person that Leandrin just chopped down or whatever was clearly not the guy, right?
No.
So
He's too old, probably. I don't know.
he looked like he would, yeah, because they
Well,
were
I think
saying they
because he
want to.
was groveling.
Well, he had a hell of a beard for a 20-year-old. It's pretty scruffy.
He was young still,
But
in his
I,
20s.
I knew a couple guys like that in high school and stuff.
Hmm.
It's possible. But then they declare that they're heading to Two Rivers because the guy that they just saw was not the right guy. But there are 4 Taverin there. What the hell is a
Right.
Taverin, Kevin?
Okay, so a Taverin is there are people around the Wheel of Time, like specifically weaves patterns. So what that means is like, shoot, I'm trying to do it without spoiling stuff later on.
Well, no, I don't
Um,
want any spoil. I was just
well,
wondering,
I'm
like,
just
is
trying
it a
to say, I'm trying to
nationality?
say, no, it's not a nationality. What it is stuff happens around these people that's unexplained, and this is the wheel weaving a pattern around them to make something happen. I mean, like in the past, it's happened with like generals where like they've won wars that they should not have won because the wheel, willed it basically, and so it's part of the pattern. In the books, there's only 3 that are um, at the Two Rivers or
Oh,
the Edmonds Field, basically. Um, they called 4 on this one, and then later on someone said something about 5. But that's another thing because they made Egwene one of them, and she wasn't in the books.
Okay.
So
All right. Interesting. Well, and speaking of her, that's the next scene. We meet Egwene and, oh God, Nynaeve? Question mark?
Nynaeve.
that's that.
Nynaeve. Wow. I mean, Nynaeve. George R. R. Martin would be proud. Nynaeve. Great. And a bunch of other chicks. They all have braids. They're the women's circle, apparently, of the city of Two Rivers. And Nynaeve is the wisdom.
Okay,
Now,
well, first off, hold on. Two Rivers is like an area. So it has 4 different cities in it. Well, 4 different towns. Terran Ferry, Devon Ride, Watch Hill, and the one you see is Edmondsfield. So
I
just
see. Okay.
it's a region.
Fine.
Yeah.
Now, I know you want to tell us a little bit about being a wisdom because you texted me that, but I get the impression. Okay, so at one point, Nynaeve declares herself the protector of the town, but then later on, and it wasn't in episode 1, but maybe episode 3, it appears that mostly what she does is she listens to the wind and she can tell what the weather's going to be. That's not really a protector of a town, right? I mean, if a tornado's coming, maybe, but.
She can hear things in the air, like things that are coming. So then she could warn them. Maybe.
Well, and they did hear something weird
right?
in this episode, and it turned out to be a bunch of beast men.
Why didn't she
She didn't warn anybody.
Right.
And we'll talk about that more later, but she's not a very good protector. Now, lore-wise, Lore Master Kevin, what is a wisdom supposed to be?
Basically a person who heals. She's...
Okay. Well, she does do
so she's like a doctor, basically.
Well, that's it. Right.
Well, I mean,
there's magic.
Medicine man.
There's more to it, but
shaman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like see, that's the thing is I don't want to.
She's got a little bit of magic in her.
Yeah,
I mean that much is kind of clear. Just the listening to the wind alone.
Basically, they're the healer. They're the healer of the village and also the leader of the women's circle.
Right.
So,
and the women
I guess
in this
somewhere
world
else
are badass.
You would hear like maybe just guide or advisor, seeker, wise one, something like that. So, but usually they're much older because of that. Like they're called the wise one or something around those time.
Okay.
They both have a lot. I mean, she has a lot of responsibilities and she has a lot of authority. I guess you would consider them equal with the mayor in some places, or even like if you don't have the healer, maybe superior.
Okay. Yeah,
and they're more like the
holds
judges,
a position of authority in the town. Sorry, what were
they get like they're more like judges because like when they get their position, they're there for life.
Okay, fair. But then she wants an apprentice. Well, okay, so Egwene gets a braid in her hair, and then she gets thrown unexpectedly into a river, and is told just like float like a rapids, and she's okay. But somewhere in there, Nynaeve also wants her to be her apprentice, which they're only like 5 or 6 years apart in age. So,
this isn't in the book, so I'm guessing her job is to make her her apprentice and then send her off to a different village or something when they lose theirs.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's not she doesn't join the women's circle. She doesn't become her apprentice in the book, so it's hard to know what they were.
Here she doesn't really have a chance, right?
Right. So I mean, it doesn't happen anyways. Even they talked about it happening, it doesn't happen. So people are upset about that. Like, why are you upset? She didn't actually become it.
Egwene manages to trust the river, and she's okay. Next up, we meet this young.
It's actually, sorry, again, I'm gonna interrupt you.
What's happening?
It's actually a good metaphor for the one power they end up having because eventually, as Maureen talked about, you have to just like trust it and let it flow over you. Oh. So I mean, it's a good metaphor for what happens when the one power. When you can channel.
Well, and Egwene is at least a little bit magical, so that works. Makes sense.
Yeah.
The blue water took care of her.
Yeah.
All right. So next scene, we meet Rand, or as I will like to call him from now on, Randikin Skywalker.
I have to tell you guys something.
What?
He is a pretty man.
He is.
That's fine. I mean,
I
Anakin
mean,
Skywalker was a pretty man
I
too,
had a
but
hard time looking at it like, oh my god.
I don't. Anakin's no, he wasn't pretty.
I can't even
No,
remember
no,
the actor's
no.
name. I feel
Rand
bad.
is right.
He's soft. His skin is all fuzzy looking.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
But
got a glow about him.
it's more Rand's
That's just
personality
not
that.
what I expected. Like I expected someone more hard and tough, and
Oh,
maybe cute in a different way. Like a rugged cute.
all right. Well, since we
This
haven't
guy
read the
looked
book,
like an
say
underwear model. I'm sorry, Calvin Klein model.
he's
And
not
his
that hunky, is
clothes,
he?
Anakin
his
Skywalker is
clothes.
rugged cute.
No, Rand. But is
Yeah,
Rand
Rand.
like underwear model hot, babe?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yes.
I did not
And he
I did
wears
not
some
see that
awesome
coming.
clothes too. I wanted his jacket, but anyways, go
Oh
on.
yeah,
Yeah,
his
that was
his
a nice
jacket's
jacket.
cool. That would be a fun cosplay item. And we also meet his dad, Tam, who apparently is fucking Roose Bolton, which completely went
Yes.
past me, and I'm so sorry, everybody. And they live in the mountains, and I guess they make cider or something. So we meet them. They're having a little chit chat about picking berries and Egwene and all that. But then we meet Matt and Perrin. So now we've met all of our 4 young lads and ladies.
And they're
Matt,
good friends.
they're all right. They're all good friends. They've probably been
Yeah.
friends for 20 years because they were all the same age. Matt, we meet Matt. He clearly has a gambling problem. Perrin's kind of quiet in comparison. And they're just hanging out in the tavern. And Matt's trying to find a way to make a quick buck because he just lost all his money. And then Egwene enters to an ovation. People are so excited to see her. Maybe they thought she was going to die. I guess it's possible when you get thrown
Yeah,
into
I'm
a
sure
river.
it's happened.
Right. I mean, maybe one time in a million you hit a rock on your way down to the river.
Or they don't trust the flow.
Don't trust the flow, you wind up drowning. Yeah, anything could happen. So there's an ovation, a big party breaks out. Everyone's having a great time. But then the door bursts open and a figure clad in black and a hood walks in, all scary like. Now, Kevin, you were saying they don't get a lot of visitors in this town.
No.
Right. But it's Lan, who seems like an okay guy from the couple seconds we met him earlier. And he introduced himself, and then Moraine dramatically comes in afterwards because she couldn't just walk next to him. But immediately, fucking Christ, what's her name? Someone say it. Nynaeve?
Nynaeve. I don't.
Nynaeve.
Nynaeve. I guess
Nynaeve,
they call
okay.
her Nynaeve. That's not how I pronounced it when I was reading, but Nynaeve. That's how they pronounce it. That's what we're gonna go with.
Nynaeve has a dagger. She's just holding on to that dagger hilt, just ready to draw it and try to stab someone, which I'm sure would go very, very well. But it kind of plays into she thinks she's the protector of the town. So in the books, maybe wisdoms are just mostly healers, but she's ready to stab a bitch. Which
Was again, she has like the authority to, she's the leader of the women's circles, and the women, believe it or not, pretty much run the world. They don't
no,
fight
that's
the
pretty
wars.
clear.
Yeah,
It's a
they
very
Aes
matriarchal
Sedai,
matriarchal
Yeah.
show, which
Yeah.
is funny
So the
coming off
women's
of Why the Last
circle-
Man.
Yeah, so the women's circle and the leader of the women's circle is going to hold a lot of sway in these towns.
Right. All right, so whatever. Moiraine causes a bit of a fuss, but she just wants a room for the night, and that all works itself out. The party sort of continues, but Perrin is sort of guilted by Nynaeve to go home to his wife, Layla, who is an awesome blacksmith and also his wife. And we get a quick little Han Solo hit where he comes up to her and he's like, "Why didn't you come to the party?" or whatever. And then he says, "I love you," and she says, "I know." And then they snuggle
Well,
up.
she's clearly not happy about being pregnant.
Was she pregnant?
I think so.
Wait. I know they were he held her from behind, and I know his hand was on her belly or whatever, but
She had a belly.
did she
I'm
actually?
gonna guess we figure out that she was pregnant. That's gonna be one of the things they add, and that's another thing.
Fuck.
Perrin losing his kid and losing his wife. I mean, this stuff doesn't happen in the book, so I mean, it gives him. Basically, it gives him. That's the one they're
You
most
didn't
upset
realize
about.
that he actually killed his child and his wife.
No, I had no idea. I thought he just killed his wife because she was awesome, kind of hot, and a bit of an ass kicker, which we'll get to. But fuck, I know I missed.
And
All right.
the book readers are really upset about it because like they did Perrin dirty, is basically what they're saying by doing that to him. But again, they had to speed up his inner
Right.
monologue of why he has to question his. Is he going to use the axe or is he going to use the hammer? They had to speed that up quickly.
Hey, and
you got it.
if you're listening to this, I know this was something we were supposed to talk about, but we don't have time to do it today. But if you're listening to this and you are mad because of that, exactly what Kevin's saying, they got to speed up the inner monologue and all that inner character growth, and you didn't want that to happen. You know what happens if you don't do that? You get 1984's Dune, which we watched, didn't we, babe?
We sure did.
Not a great movie.
Well,
Very slow.
It was great for its day.
Hard to watch with all the inner monologue that's happening in that.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Stop talking to yourself and just do things. Just show us by doing. That's all I want. So here, Perrin was showing us by doing, wasn't he? Or is about to be. Okay, so we meet Matt's parents real quick. We already talked about that. They're kind of fucked up. And when the party's over, Rand and Egwene have a moment. He wants to know how the ceremony went, but ultimately they start making out, and then I'm pretty sure they fuck.
Yeah.
They do.
We don't see it.
They don't do that in the books at all. So.
It's actually less explicit than the scene in the Eternals. Go for it.
I never saw the Eternals yet. I'm gonna watch it.
You gotta go watch it. Anyway, so they make out, they fuck, whatever. Meanwhile, while that's happening, in a very Witcher-esque scene, Moiraine is taking a bath, and Lan just invites himself in.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about Lan for a second, okay?
All right. Now, are they lovers?
They are not lovers.
I thought they weren't, but they are way too close for non-lovers.
Right. So let's talk about what Lan is. He's a warder. So what a warder is, and we talked about with the red ones, they don't take them. They get bonded with their Aes Sedai. And what that means is when they bond them, that's why he's able to scout ahead and come back. They give them a strength buff, basically. So he can do a lot more because he's bonded with her. And so what ends up happening is his number one and only goal in the entire world is to protect his Aes Sedai. That's it. He bonds with her. He gets the strength. He's there to protect her, and that's it. He gives her strength too, so that she can survive. She pulls from his strength. He can feel everything that happens to her. She can feel everything that happens to him. So it's actually more than a lover because they don't need the love. They have the bond. They have a bond. It's a magical bond.
Okay.
So that's when you see them getting in the bath like that and they're having a bond. I mean, they can feel each other's thoughts and everything. So, I mean, it really doesn't, they're already intimate enough. So, I mean, you never see that stuff in the books or anything, but it makes perfect sense for them to take baths together because, well, first off, where Lan's from, they do that anyways. They have no problem, the men and the women just bathe together where he's from. And second, they're already bonded. He can feel everything she feels. She can hear everything she hears. I mean, I don't know if they can hear, but they can feel each other's, how they're feeling. So it's really nothing for them to get in the bath together.
It's like being the same person.
Yeah.
All right.
So, no, I don't think they're lovers. I think they were doing what he does where he's from, and they're bonded to each other. So it's not even that weird for him to step in a bathtub with him. And again, people took that as being lovers. No, that can't happen. But I don't think they're being lovers. I think they were just taking a bath. And,
no, I mean they didn't make any overtures that indicated that they were also going to fuck later. But it's just interesting. It's not something we usually see around here. Two co-workers just winding up naked in a bath together. Yeah. In terms of how you describe the warder, though, job, I do think that this show did a great job of demonstrating that in the battle to come. So that's nice. So we got some fucking going on. We got some bathing going on. And while all that's happening, someone with, now I wrote someone with a mask on, and we're going to take that back. But someone with a weird white face rides through town. And we don't know anything about it because we haven't read the books. But something mysterious is happening. It does feel a little bit Lord of the Rings with the Nazgul coming into Brandywine or whatever town that was. Anyway, so that happens. Then the next day, so that guy rides into town, but nothing awful happens from it. The next day, the first thing that happens, we meet Paddan Fane. He is a friendly seeming traveling merchant. He appears to sell sweets and then lanterns for the Beltane celebration, which we'll learn a little bit about as this goes on. Matt tries to hawk a bracelet he stole off of a girl last night, and it's not really worth much, but he's able to get a couple lanterns that he can give to his little sisters. So that's kind of nice. Meanwhile, somewhere nearby, Lan thinks he has sensed the signs that an eyeless is around. We can start to connect in our heads. That's the thing that was riding through town, but they don't really explain anything yet.
Yep.
And I don't even think we see that eyeless dude again in this particular episode. But Lan senses something. So they start to investigate. Around town, let's see. Egwene and Rand discuss... they're off like in the hills. Egwene comes and sits next to him. They discuss life and futures and what they thought things could be and blah, blah. And oh yeah, she's going to take the job as Apprentice Wisdom. Now, this is one of those things that just... It happens all the time in all these fantasy epics and sometimes in sci-fi epics. As soon as you join some magical or religious order, whether it's the Jedi or almost anything else, you instantly have to become sexless.
Why? I guess because you can't focus.
But you've got good genes. You're magical. You could pass that on to a kid too and just keep the world strong.
Right. How else are they born? How are they born if nobody's having sex?
Well, some people are having sex, just not anyone.
You just have. It's like just a random thing. Like people that are not magical. See, it doesn't get passed down. Otherwise, it would die.
Well, still, I just feel like people should. You could be the town healer, which apparently is all a wisdom is, and also still like have a life.
So this is what happened in Dune. Remember, she wasn't supposed to have a child.
Well, she wasn't supposed to have a male child.
That's right. She wasn't supposed to have a male child.
But she said, "I'm doing it anyway." But most of those Bene Gesserits,
it's really not that way in the. It's really not that way in the book, so I can't tell you what they're going with.
Oh,
all right.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's right. You said they weren't really together in the first place. They were just pining for each other.
No, what I'm saying is wisdoms don't have a you can't marry rule in the books.
Well, fuck this show then. Now I'm mad. Now I'm an angry watcher.
Everybody gets more interested when people are doing things that are against the rules.
I just hate that. And like Lan doesn't get to ever have sex. He doesn't get to have a life outside of his relationship. And I just got to say,
like,
maybe
he probably can.
The thing is, these people do. It's more like, I guess they're more like let's say that they aren't supposed to. I mean, it's not mentioned in the books. Maybe it's not supposed to. It's probably more like people on the wall, in the Game of Thrones, where they do it anyways. They just don't want to have kids when they do it.
Well, right, but except Lan can't leave Moraine's side because he's her eternal protector.
Well, he goes off and seeks ahead. Maybe he's going and having a little.
Oh, well, I hope so because, like, just as an aging man, it's infuriating me more and more to see these things like the Watchers on the Wall in Game of Thrones, like Lan Mandragora or whatever his name is. Like, if you make it to 50 or 60, you're going to have a prostate the size of a pineapple because you never come.
What?
They're allowed to. I mean, nothing. They didn't even say anything about it in the show that they couldn't, but they're allowed to.
All right. I'm going to take your word for it.
Especially Lan. Lan's allowed to. I know that.
He's allowed to take a vacation once in a while and just go off.
He's allowed. I mean, yeah.
All right.
I think there are ones that get married and things like that. So I mean, it's usually with their Aes Sedai, but yeah, it happens.
Okay, all right. Meanwhile, Moraine tracks down Nynaeve.
Yep, there you go.
So Nynaeve again doesn't really get to have a life. She just spends her time scrubbing stones at the local holy pond or whatever. They have a little verbal sparring match, but ultimately Nynaeve doesn't trust Moraine because Nynaeve's mentor tried to go to the White Tower and get some extra magic and was rejected.
Again, something that did not happen in the book, so I can't tell you what was going on.
Okay. Well, is Nynaeve angry? In the books, does she dislike the Aes Sedai?
Yes, she does.
Okay. For different reasons or no reason?
For different reasons.
All right. Maybe we shouldn't know those right now. Maybe they'll come up later. I don't know. So anyway,
she's just an unlikable person. Like, she's hard-headed. She's,
Nynaeve?
She thinks she's in charge. She likes where she's at. She's stubborn. It's. it's hard to explain. I mean, because you got the inner monologue for her, so there's reasons like other than something dramatic happening for why she, fights them tooth and nail.
Okay.
Really, she thinks she's a protector, and they came and they took Rand, they took,
Which she
Egwene.
says.
Yeah, so really, that's her main dislike is they took them out of there, and
Right.
she had a problem with it.
Okay, fair. In I think the next scene, it's Nynaeve and Egwene off on like a bridge, and Egwene's kind of sad because she wants to marry Rand, but she also wants the job. But they hear something weird in the wind. And then as that's happening, Lan, who was scouting around, finds a bunch of slaughtered and devoured livestock, apparently in the shape of the number 9. Or maybe half of a yin-yang. I'm not sure which one it is. But it did remind
Just a
me
little swirly.
Of the White Walkers.
Very much.
Was there significance to the pattern?
Which one?
The dead animals.
How it looked like a number 9?
No, I don't think. I didn't even see a pattern in it. I don't.
Well, someone's going to have to go back and watch again.
Not us.
Not us. We already did. We already watched it twice. Okay. But everything still seems fine. Rand and Perrin and Matt are hanging out for what appears to be a breakfast beer. And then Rand goes back to the mountains for the evening Beltane celebration with Daddy, where they light their lanterns and they're talking about their mom and how the Beltane is a holiday where you light the lanterns and the lanterns are supposed to guide the souls of people you loved back to you.
Right.
Yes. I got that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
The dad starts talking about the Wheel of Time, and at this point, I kind of blacked out. It's one of the reasons I had to watch the show twice. Because as he's talking about how the Wheel of Time turns, all that's going through my head is Journey singing, "The Wheel of Time keeps on turning."
Oh my gosh.
It's not just me. You were there last night.
That is not how the song goes.
Oh.
Well, it's the wheel in the sky.
So
I know, but it just...
That's all I can think about because the Wheel of Time keeps on turning. I couldn't get it out of my head.
Okay.
And Jay Sarge, our resident musical genius, thought the same thing. So, nah, it's not just me.
I thought about it for a second.
All right.
There's a lot of things in this movie that songs could... like you go through the whole show and you come up with songs.
All right. So basically, the actual Wheel of Time is like a spoke. Like a wheel, a spoked wheel, basically.
7 spokes. A 7-spoked wheel.
Right. And so each one of the spokes is like a different age that happens along the way. And so they always comes back to it. And it may change, and the players may change around, but all the people are reborn in each age.
And
so
aren't the strands made out of people's, like the people give them power? Something like
that's what they were saying in the thing. It's like that. Yeah, it's hard to explain the concept, but basically, time never started, time never stops. It just keeps going around and around and around.
Like the cycle of power in Westeros.
Yes. I'm gonna break the wheel.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that metaphor to come up in this show, but maybe it won't.
But I mean, he's trying to break the wheel. That's his whole entire thing. Is he's gonna break the world,
the dark one.
Dragon. Yeah, he wants the dragon, reborn to break it for good.
All right. So Rand and Tam, they stay up in the mountains while the rest of the village is having their Beltane dance. They have to dance or else the spirits won't come back. And it's almost note for note the music from the movie Willow when there's a celebration in the Nelwyn town. I'm just putting that out there. And Lan is like, "Hey, Morgaine, we got to get the hell out of there. There's Trollocs all over the place." And Morgaine's like, "But I don't know which child we're supposed to kidnap yet." And then Egwene's dancing with this dude named Tom, who suffers from a severe case of axe in the back, which is not good when you're trying to dance with someone.
No.
Nope.
And then the big battle starts. The Trollocs attack. Is there anything we need to know about Trollocs that's important? They just look like giant beastmen.
If you, I kind of like doing with you like to look at the trivia, or not you like to look at the pause button and see the names and stuff. I like to look at the trivia they bring up in this because they're doing a good job of explaining some of the things.
Oh.
And one of the things they brought up was the Trollocs. They are basically half human, half whatever they could find to make them Trollocs. And so like they are controlled, and basically their entire purpose is to eat. Like that's it. That's all they do. Like attack and eat. So like it's and you can see it when it happens. Um, they'll even eat their fallen comrades. They don't care.
Yeah, we get to see that. I think in episode
Yeah,
3 too. That was a hell of a
yeah,
thing.
yeah. So they whatever they can find, goats, animal. They have human features. Whatever they can find, they put them together and make them.
Yep. So it's a hell of a battle, and there were some notes I took during this. First of all, protector of the town, Nynaeve, immediately grabs Egwene and makes them both hide, because that's what protectors do. Sorry. And then Paddan, damn it, what's his name? Paddan, the merchant dude.
Oh,
he
Paddan
seemed either unconcerned. What?
He was pleased.
He kind of had a smile on his face, and he slowly backed away from the battle. What's with that dude, or is that a spoiler and you shouldn't tell us?
It's a spoiler. I'm not going to tell you.
All right, fine. So he's very mysterious. I'm sure we will see him many times, right?
I mean, personally, you should have saw him in the second episode, but you didn't.
I think I know who he is.
Wait, we should have seen him in the second episode?
Let's talk about it next episode.
Okay. Fuck. I must have missed something.
No, I don't think we saw him in the second episode. You should have.
Oh.
You did not.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'll tell you who I think it is
Who do you think it
when we come
is?
to that time.
Okay. I'm excited for this. Matt runs off in search of his little sisters because his parents are useless. And again, that scene, him searching for the kids, reminds me a lot of the attack in the town on Willow. So go back and watch that 1980s classic if you haven't recently. Let's see, Nynaeve and Egwene. Oh yeah, so Nynaeve and Egwene are hiding, and then they find one, like the oldest guy in town, and he got like a serious leg wound, and they drag him to safety just in time for him to die. So again, amazing protectors. I love it so much. Meanwhile, in the mountains, one, and seemingly only one, Trolloc comes for Rand, since they do seem to be hunting the kids, right? And the fight breaks out, but turns out Dad has a sweet sword, and it has a bird on it. I was like, is that a seagull? And then our friend Eric said it was a heron.
It's a heron.
A heron? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dad has some kind of secret past, I guess, and hopefully that will be revealed to us in time, because Rand seems surprised, right?
Yeah. It's a mark. It's basically the mark of a blade master. You get that mark when you become a blade master, and he's hidden it from Rand this whole time.
He just wanted to retire and live a life in peace.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
It's like many an old samurai.
Also in the book, Lan has one as well. So.
Oh, well, we haven't really seen his sword up close enough yet, I don't think. So it could be there. They managed to kill the Trolloc working together, but Dad gets an axe to the shoulder, and he is now poisoned and not doing so great. So Rand's going to work on getting him to Nynaeve, to which I wrote, ha, 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 because I know what's about to happen.
All right, so
yeah.
So I have a lot of problem with people who like look at the differences between the books and the shows and get really upset. But I personally myself was really upset that they cut off a huge entire chunk of what happens between the town and him bringing in his dad down from the mountains. I mean, it's one of my favorite scenes in the books. And they just completely cut it out. So I hope they go back to it later.
So like his journey back down the mountain, you mean?
His journey with his father on the back of the horse, which, by the way, the horse is another character that's awesome.
Okay.
Bella. So on the horse, when he's bringing him down, his dad like talks to him and well, he doesn't talk to him. He has like a fever dream basically, and gives out a lot of exposition about Rand. So you missed that. You missed that part of it. And I love that scene in the book a lot.
Well, don't tell us because
I'm hoping they go back to it. I hope they go back to I hope Rand thinks about it later on because it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I hope so. I do love me a good backstory. All right, so the battle's not going very well in the town, and then Moraine and Lan show up and they turn the tide. But I do notice they really demonstrate that Lan is Moraine's protector in the manner in which her magic is slow as fuck. It takes her forever to cast a spell.
Sure does.
It's channeling. They're channeling is what they do, and they talked about it earlier when she was talking about, you're not really listening to wind, you're channeling Sadir or Sandar, and you're channeling the one power, sorry, and the woman's side of the one power, and you're channeling it, and that's what she's doing. It takes a lot of effort. It basically almost like she's fighting with swords, physically fighting. It physically tires her out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's slow.
Very slow.
This kind of takes a lot of concentration.
Clearly, I'm not arguing.
And as
any
strong
of that.
as Moraine's pretty strong in the one power. As strong as she is, there are people much stronger who can do it much faster.
Oh, well, see, that'll be interesting to see as this world evolves. Let's see. What was it? Oh, a circle of townswomen take down a Trolloc together. That was nice to see. Power to the women. Love that. And then Nynaeve gets taken, dragged off by the hair by a Trolloc. So everyone's like, she's dead, she's gone. But I assume she's not dead. Because she didn't die on screen, as we know. Then we have this fight between Perrin and Layla versus a Trolloc that bursts into her blacksmithery. And Perrin fucking goes berserk and manages to kill. Like, she's kicking ass. She's really good with that hammer, but she's not as strong as the Trolloc. So the two of them together sort of get him down. And then Perrin goes bonkers with his axe.
It's a bloodlust, is what it is.
A bloodlust, there we go. Or like a berserking rage of sorts. Yeah. And then he fucking kills his wife.
And baby.
And I guess his baby. I mean, it's even worse than I thought.
But I'm guessing he did kill his baby as well. We're going to hear that later on.
I
think it was just, this is what the issue is with him. Now he is, torn now. He can see what he can do when he fights. And he ends up killing his wife, and everyone thinks the Trollocs did it, and he hasn't said anything, so I'm sure he'll say something later on, but...
Yeah, it's coming. I really liked Layla. I was like, she might have been my favorite character in the town. So then they killed her off. You know how I feel about women that kick ass, babe. Mm-hmm. So I don't like him. I don't like Perrin as a character. Then more Trollocs show up, like a lot of them. And one of them like throws something into Moraine's shoulder, so now she's hurt.
Dagger, it looked like a poison dagger.
Yeah. But light gives her strength, and then she casts an even longer long-ass spell. Which destroys like what appeared to be maybe the town hall or something, but
I think for you think it is long. I think it's in slow motion, so you can see what's actually happening.
Think so?
Yeah, I think they slowed it down.
It didn't seem like it.
I think if you watched you watched it twice now, but if you go back and you look, I think the Trollocs are moving slower and stuff. I think you're seeing it in slow motion.
Jennifer's kind of shaking her head no, but maybe. It's still, I mean, it felt like it took an hour. But yeah, the Trollocs are running at her, and Lan is keeping some off of her back while she's focusing on the front. And then she throws a building piece by piece at all these Trollocs, and the battle is won. But then she collapses because it takes a lot out of her.
And here's my question, and I'm wondering if it's just the way they did the showing it. The only people who can see the channeling are other Aes Sedai. Like the regular people cannot see what she's doing. They just see her standing there, moving her hands and stuff coming out. So I'm wondering if they're going that way or they're just making everyone see it.
That's a good question. I feel like if the Trollocs could see what she was about to do, they would have thrown more things at her. So I'm going to say it's probably invisible.
Okay.
Trollocs aren't very smart.
They're not very smart.
So then she can go slow because she's just sitting there dancing in the middle of the town.
Right, exactly. She's doing a dance. They're not very smart, but if they saw like white light dancing around her and swirling and coalescing, they're probably smart enough to just be like, keep throwing your axes. She's the only thing in our way. And they didn't. All right. So then Rand, our hero, gets down the mountain just in time for everything to be over. Egwene, I loved this scene so much. Egwene's like tending to this old lady who's got like a head wound, and she's like giving her water and stuff. But as soon as she sees Rand come down the mountain, she's like, "Fuck you, lady! I gotta go and hug this guy."
Yeah.
Well, she's actually sent away. Someone says, "Hey, look, go over there." Basically,
if you say so. I thought she was just like, "My love," and then abandon the poor old lady. So they hug, whatever. Tam's hurt. I did notice also that when Perrin carries Layla out of the blacksmithery, he has cleaned up the fact that she drowned in her own blood.
Yeah.
What a dick. Moraine comes over and heals Tam.
He didn't do it on purpose. Come on, he didn't do it on purpose.
You act like
It's the middle of the battle, and he made a mistake.
She was my favorite. I'm sorry, I cannot forgive it. Moraine heals Tam with light magic because that's the only way you can get rid of this Trolloc poison. All right. And then we get a little bit of exposition. 20 years ago, a blind Aes Sedai. What a weird description, too. Her eyes were so white she couldn't see, but she could see. That was just say she's blind. One of her Aes Sedai was blind, but she
could see.
She was doing some
Even
some
though
prophecy.
her eyes could not see, her mind could.
Right. A blind Aes Sedai foresaw the coming of the dragon who will stand against the darkness. That's pretty much it, right?
Hmm.
I mean, there's a lot more in the book, but yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
It explains what they are, who they, stuff like that. So.
And then we hear the noises and see the torches or whatever. An army of Trollocs are coming from a great distance away.
Mhm.
Trollocs are coming. The Trollocs are coming.
And the good news for the town is, if we get these 4 kids out of here, the Trollocs will probably not
They'll just run right on
destroy
through.
the town. Right. They'll just be like, hey, we're just passing through. Don't mind us.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe like show a picture of the 4 kids. Have you guys seen any of these 4s?
Can I use your bathroom?
We want to eat them real bad.
Well, there's a reason they know where they are and they're following them.
Oh, I'm sure. Some kind of magical mark that exists in the dragon's soul. Right?
Sure.
Okay. So they have to get to the White Tower. The White Tower is where they will be safe, and none of them particularly want to leave town, but they do because they don't want the town to be consumed by Trollocs. Hundreds of Trollocs.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that's it. That's episode 1.
Yeah.
It was action-packed. We learned a lot. I really feel like it was a pretty strong thing. I apologize for not knowing, the reasons that everyone was angry about the changes to the characters, but standing on its own, I enjoyed it. What did you think, babe?
Right. That's what
I
I'm
enjoyed
trying
it
to
also.
say.
I always love a good
Yeah.
like medieval type era show.
Yeah, and so there were some strong things on. I mean, you have a lot. It gives you a lot of questions if you don't know what's going on. Like, why are these people looking for this? Why did the trial? You have these questions, and it's a good start, I think.
Mm-hmm. It's
Series.
very
I mean,
Lords of Ring-ish.
Oh,
I'm
there's so
telling
much more
you-
Lord of the Rings comparisons coming too. Oh,
Yeah, Matt is pretty much my favorite character in the books, and he pretty much a favorite character in the series too. He has some of the best lines. His line in the 3rd episode killed me for like 3 minutes. I had to stop and come back and say, "Did he really just say that?" And we can talk about that.
oh, well, we will talk about that. That's funny though, because our friend Kim apparently does not like Matt in the books. Finds him endlessly annoying.
He is kind of annoying, but I just love him.
All right, well, that's fair.
I have those characters.
Look, that does it for episode 1. We're gonna try to sort of cram in some extra episodes here between now and episode 4 because they unleash 3 all at once. Really, just kind of frustrating. Not as frustrating as it's gonna be when The Witcher drops all 8 episodes at once, but still a little bit frustrating for now. So, any last thoughts before we sign off and get to work on episode 2?
Not for me. No.
Lord Master Kevin?
No. I think you did a good job.
Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for enlightening us about some of the backstory, but not too much to be spoilery. I think it was the perfect amount of.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil. There's a lot of stuff that happens that is going to be surprising, so I'm trying not to ruin it for you guys.
Well, thank you.
But
I think I appreciate that. I'm sure our audience appreciates that. So, thank you, Kevin, for joining us, and we will be back.
Well, thanks for having me.
Very soon
Yep.
with our thoughts on episode 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. May the Aes Sedai watch over you and bring you into the light.
How about just may the light be with you?
How about this? The wheel of time keeps on turning.
You probably don't want to listen to that when you're doing the editing because you'll just cut it out.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording.